Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool pinball repair video for you. If you did not see our first video, we are working on not one but two Gottlieb Bad Girls pinball machines. And on the first video we were working through the boards a little bit and fixing one of the displays, etc., etc. But we're now to the point where we need to work on the playfield. So I have went through and replaced all of the light bulbs underneath the playfield, but the top of the playfield on both of them needs to be shopped out. So we're going to work on that next. This is what we're calling Bad Girl number 1. That's Bad Girl number 2 over there. So Bad Girl number 1 is in a little bit better shape. I'm going to get a screwdriver and a nut driver and all that, and we're going to start taking stuff off the top. And doing this little attract mode. Look, there's still one light out. And so I'm going to start taking stuff off the top. We'll lay it here on our high speed temporarily. We will be fixing the high speed soon. Oh, by the way, I've got grease all over me. I've been working on my truck all day. So we're going to take all the parts off. I'm going to lay them on this pinball machine in the general position that they came off the machine, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem on this particular game because I've got a whole other machine right there still in one piece. So I'll start taking it apart, and I'm going to do this entire one first, and then we'll do that entire one afterwards. Hopefully we can clean it up a little bit. If I see anything strange that I run into, I will film that. But if not, we'll get it all off of there and then see what kind of condition the playfield's in underneath it all. So this is what's under it. Took about 40 minutes to take most of the stuff off. I'm not taking everything off, obviously, but you want to get as much off the actual artwork as you can. I still need to I need to get that off. I guess maybe you get to that from the bottom. There's some bad wear up here. That's pretty rough. And there is some wear here. And that's about it. There's more ball tracks and stuff like that, but that'll all clean up. So the worst parts are right here. There is a big scoop that covers that, so it's very hard to see it from the bottom of the playfield. And then this part here, we'll see how that comes out. What my thinking is I'm probably just going to leave it. I'm going to clean it all up, obviously, and get it looking as clean as possible, but I'm just going to leave the wear. This isn't going to be like this is not a super collectible machine where people are looking for a high-end perfect model. This is just going to be a fun, cheesy machine. We'll see how it plays, but no use really to try to make the thing perfect. But that's what we're looking at now. So here's all the stuff. Lots of goodies. And if you've watched my videos, you know I don't do LEDs really. But on this particular one, they're using red incandescent bulbs inside the pop bumper caps because it has this cutesy little kiss me thing on it. So we may get some red LEDs or some pink LEDs or something to put inside that, just so it looks kind of, on a game like this where it's an 80s theme, anything neon or LED or anything like that is just going to make it look better anyway. Here's our Bad Girl number 2. Yuck! They put black rings on it. Ugh, horrible. And they didn't ever take off the original ones. Ugh. So let's see if these, now they've just got regular light bulbs in them. So I'm trying to think, are the red bulb condoms on those, are those original, or is that just something somebody put in it? But I think it would help the game on this particular model to put a little bit of LEDs in it. And if you put them under the playfield too, that's never really a problem. I just don't like it whenever people put them as the general illumination lights. It looks, oh yeah. It bleaches everything out. I just can't stand it. But in this instance, we may put a few around or something just to make it look pink or red or something 80s neon. Okay, so we got everything off of it that we're going to take off. Now we just need to clean, and I'm going to try to get that off so we can clean it. That's some kind of two-way mirror or something. There's a little Playfield under there with a pool table on it. So I'll see how we get that off. We did a Genesis, a Gottlieb Genesis, and it had screws actually in the top to take it off. But yeah, nothing crazy. That wear right there was the worst. Everything else looks pretty good, and the whole middle has this Mylar on it. We'll try to get it as clean as we can. It won't look new or anything, but it should hold up pretty good. I've got to order from the Pinball Resource all the little stickers. So there's a little drop target sticker. These drop target stickers are still fine, but I need to order these little cube things here. Apparently in the manual they call those television sets. So there's a little sticker of the girl who kind of looks like the Robert Palmer, is that his name? The Addicted to Love girls. And they're on the little TV screen and stuff. So maybe they were trying to rip that off a little bit. I don't know. So I'll start cleaning it. We'll wipe it down with just 409 and paper towels first. You're not really supposed to use liquid on the Playfield because it can make things swell up, but this one's filthy, so I'm going to use it anyway. And then after we get it all cleaned up a little bit, we're going to go back with a magic eraser and clean it all with the magic eraser to get it so fresh and so clean. And then after we do that, we'll clean all the magic eraser dust off of it. And then it'll really look fresh and clean. And then after that, we'll wax, and get it nice and shiny. And get it where the, hopefully the pinball won't damage it anymore. Put a new pinball in it, of course. So yeah, so I'll clean off the dirt. We'll see how it looks after the initial cleaning. So here's after cleaning it a little. I went ahead and used the magic eraser on the bottom a little bit. I took the piece of glass off the middle so you can see what the pool table looks like. It's kind of a weird setup. I don't know why they did it like that. Unfortunately, our glass is damaged too. But it's not just reflective, it's like a two-way. So, not sure I can fix that. I don't have another one of those, but so I guess we'll put it back in temporarily at least and see what it looks like. So, we're going to keep going up the Playfield. Okay, so cleaned it all up, haven't waxed it yet. Got it doing its thing. Almost all of the general illumination bulbs were burnt out. So I'm putting them back. I'm screwing around with putting maybe some LEDs over here because there's a little, you just see the bulbs through there, so it's kind of this techno looking thing. So I thought, hey, why not LEDs? And then I may put some pink or purple LEDs up here where in the rollovers. They look pretty cool. But just a little bit, you know, I don't want to put crap everywhere. And you got to kind of do the warm ones so that they kind of match all the other bulbs. We'll mess around with it a little bit. But I'm going to start waxing it, get everything nice and shiny, and then we'll get all the bulbs on. Okay, folks, so we are working through it. Remember, we got to do 2 of these, so I'm not filming everything. We're working through it. One thing I couldn't, that I'm having some discrepancies with is this rail is on top of this, so I put it back like that, but on the other one it's underneath it, so we'll have to check that. And then another thing, this has been on all day, but my display stopped working. And that's not the one I fixed that one, so this one may have fried. If you look on the flyer for the game, it originally wasn't going to have these mirrored plastics that are just plain as hell. Originally they had a little art, and then they had a bunch of orange plastics, and the ramp was even orange on the at least on the prototype one. Also, I put the glass back in, but as you can see, there's a couple spots missing from it, so it doesn't look great. It's all right, but might have to try to find some two-way glass that I can cut another, and it's two-way plexiglass, so I don't know. So I'm just putting everything back. Everything's going on good. I'm going to see about, I'll put these little triangle things on the lane guides, and I'll put a couple of them pink and one of them white, and we can see which we like better. So I'll do that. I'm also going to put the rest of this stuff back on. It's all real simple. I haven't really ran into any problems, so there wasn't anything really to film. But yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so as you know, I don't really like LEDs, but since this game is so plain and the plastics are all just chrome, you can put up whatever lights you want. It's not going to screw anything up. I just don't like it whenever there's like a, you know, on the see if I can find a good example. So people will do crap like, they'll take these and they'll go, ooh, look, those are trees. Let's put a green LED behind that, right? And then they put a super bright ass green LED behind that, and it washes the whole thing out to where now everything that's white is green, everything that's green is green, everything that's yellow is green, and it looks like crap. Looks cheap, doesn't look like it was originally designed. Now on this game, it's a little different though. There's no art on any of the plastics, so you can put whatever colors you want in there. Now I'm not going to get all crazy with it or anything. But, you know, since it's a cheesy game, I thought, hey, let's put some pink ones somewhere, right? So I've got a couple. I was going to put them in the pop bumpers too, but the pop bumpers on a Gottlieb, they work a little different. So for whatever reason, you can't put an LED in the pop bumpers. Now maybe it's, you know, maybe I need a different type or something. I think I've got 3 or 4 different types. I can't get any of them to turn on in the pop bumpers, but the regular bulbs do. So I may be able to just get a little sleeve to go over it like that. So yeah, the other thing is, whenever you replace general illumination lights with an LED, it really lowers the brightness of the light that you kind of need to see around the playfield. So look how bright. That's just a regular bulb, just a regular incandescent bulb. And so you can see how that really adds a lot of light to the playfield up here at the top. I also noticed that the way this particular one's designed, there's not really that much light coming out. Here, let me hit the lights, and then maybe it'll make the point a little better. All I'm saying is you got to be careful with this stuff. You can't go ridiculous with it. Okay. So of course right now it has them off on purpose. There's our LED things. I still got one burnout under the playfield. Okay, so I've replaced all of the GI lights, and it's this dark just normally. Right? So if I replace those white ones at the top with pink, you can see that it's really cutting down. Like, look over here. Look, see the darkness of that compared to how light it is over here. So you're losing a little bit of your light quality. Now I guess you could just put like super bright LEDs, but your eyes don't really like seeing like a super bright green or a super bright red or whatever. It's the only word for it, people, is bullshit. Whenever people put different colored LEDs all over the place, it looks like crap. Now I'm going to screw up my own freaking rule though and put these in just because I think it's a nice little touch. So I'll put those 3 as the pink. It'll kind of be a little something extra for it. I like it if people just use a few of them here and there to do kind of neat things, but man, whenever you put them all over the playfield, in my opinion, on an old game, now on a new game, books out the window, you can do whatever the hell you want with a new game, but on an old game, I don't think it looks right. It doesn't add to the game. Okay, so it's actually up and running. Everything's back together. The little playfield looks pretty good with the lights off at least. I think our purple came out all right. I think I might, these are those bulbs I was talking about, but I think I might do purple ones in there as well, just so it all matches. I'm saying purple, it looks kind of pink, but it's actually purple. But it looks kind of cool, so we might do that there too. It's looking for the ball, by the way. Yeah, everything's pretty decent. It's got the cool, cheesy Gottlieb sound too. Whoop. I'd like to see it do its little light show. It's got a little flash show that it does. We've locked one. It's got a multi-ball. Oh, snap. And it was almost even doing speech there, right? Alright, so I'm going to make, those are going to match those one way or the other. I'll either make those red or make those pink or something. But yeah, it's getting there. I think it looks good. It's looking decent. Alright, so you know what time it is. We got to get the second one up and running, right? So maybe we'll mess with that Playfield next. Okay, so here is our second one that we're starting off with. I thought that I replaced all the bulbs under this one too, but maybe not. But we're ready to tear it down. Let's see. We've got a little bit of wear here where the ball falls out of the ramp. It's a little rough there. Ooh. The wear here isn't as bad as on the other one. And then let's see under that scoop up there, or that whatever that is. Yeah, it's a little rough under there, but not as bad as the other one. So, and then you got a little bit here too. So we're going to clean it up. We'll take it all apart, clean it up, and see if that's presentable to just leave it how it is, or if we need to touch it up. I'm leaning towards not touching it up, but we'll see how clean we can get it. But just like the other one, we're just going to tear everything down and see if we can get it nice and clean, looking like this again. Filthy. So I'll start pulling everything off. This is what we're starting with all of the crap off of it. It is just filthy. Filthy, filthy, filthy. But I believe there is hope. Look at the, well, I guess that's got Mylar on it. I think it's going to clean up pretty nice. I need new flipper bats. Those are in bad shape. Another cool thing is on the Gottliebs, they have smaller rings. See, it's not as big as a regular ring. Okay, so I'm going to clean it off, same way we did the other one, just go through it with magic eraser and see how much I can get at this shine. And when I do that, it's going to make this worse, actually. It's going to pull some of that off, but as long as it's not too much, we'll be all right. I'm also going to hit these chrome things with the magic eraser and see if I can, there's little rust spots on some of it, see if I can clean any of that up and make it look a little better and get everything to shine for us. So I'll do a little bit of it and come back and we'll see how it's turning out. So the only thing I found on it that's actually damaged is this clip right here on this flat rail. If you look at the way Gottlieb did theirs, there's a little clip that just kind of bends around the flat rail and holds it in place. And Pinball Resource actually makes those brand new. They're like $3. There's a good shot of one. So I need one of those for right here, which it's basically rusted in half. This thing has gotten wet at some point. So I think what I'm going to do, I don't want to go crazy repainting it, you know, but I think I'm going to touch up the black a little bit over here and there, and then I think I have to touch up this green just a little bit because there's just enough where it looks fugly. So just like we always do, I'm just going to mix up some green, get it as close as possible, paint that in, paint that in. You'll be able to tell that it was redone, but it'll look better than it is. And then I'll put the black letter back on it. I didn't do that over here, but it was in much better shape. The scoop up at the top, I'm not that worried about because you can't even see it when you're playing it, so I'm not going to worry about that. But you know, that's going to bug anybody, and that's pretty rough. And then if I'm doing black anyway, I might as well do this because it's pretty much just black. So I'm going to touch it up just a little bit and then clear coat it, that part of it. And then whenever I wax it, it'll all blend in and look good. I've still got to take the mirror out of the middle, of course, and I've got to order that clip, and I've got to order some decals and things like that, but and some flipper bats. But it cleaned up decent. It's going to look all right once we get all of the nice new rubbers on it and everything clean. It'll look very similar to that one. As a matter of fact, I can't tell anything that's definitely going to be worse. And the ladies up here are actually better. So I have touched up the green, looking pretty good. Touched up the black a little bit, and the black a little bit. I'm not gonna go crazy on it, like I said. I may not even fix that cue ball, but I'm gonna put the red back in where it says scratch, and I'm gonna put the black back in where it says top right English. We're not trying to make it perfect, we're just trying to make it a little more presentable, so no big deal. But it cleaned up pretty good. I mean, as far as with the touched up paint. So I'll let that dry a little bit, and then I'll ink in the letters and the letters, and then we'll put a little bit of spot clear on just that part, and we'll see how it all turns out. Okay, so we put a little spot clear on it. Of course, took the flipper paddles off and waxed it a little bit. And in the process of that, the game stopped working. So, and I remember whenever we were messing with this one earlier, it stopped working too. But then it was fine after we turned it off and back on. You can see how the whole playfield was kind of faded around where the flippers were. Strange. That over there. I touched up the pink a little bit so you can read it. And I had to re-put in that weird G. And I know it looks kind of weird, but that is about how the thing actually was. It's a little off, but pretty good. That came out pretty decent. So I'm putting all of our stuff back on the playfield. I've got a new decal kit for both machines coming, but it's not here yet. So to make myself feel better, I'm just laying the decal up there. And it's all going back in, but while I was doing it, the game died. Huh. Huh. So I believe something is wrong with the MPU boards. We're going to have to mess with that later, but it's coming together a little bit. We've got the same problem with this one that we had on that one, where that's a two-way mirror, and I don't have, I bought some mirrors for the front one that I replaced on one of these, I think that one, but it's not a two-way mirror, it's just a regular mirror. So if you're doing one of these, you may want to consider buying two-way mirror material, because then you can replace the playfield window too. This one's actually a little worse than this one. It'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal, but you know, it looks worn. It'd be better if it wasn't like that. So I'm gonna keep putting the stuff back on it. I've placed some orders for some parts and stuff, like that one little piece of the flat ball guide that needs to be replaced, and I got some other LEDs coming that'll work in the pop bumpers. And what else did I have to order? Look at you can see how the inserts have raised underneath the Mylar. Made it a little bumpy there. It is what it is, people. So I'm going to put the rest of the Playfield back together. Oh, I had to order the flipper bats. But we'll put it all back together and get it as far as we can. And then we may have to try to repair that board. So if you watched our first video, you know we've already worked on this board once. We cleaned up the battery corrosion and we replaced we put this little battery holder in it and put a diode on it and all that good stuff, okay? And we had it up back in the game, everything was up and running. And while I was cleaning the Playfield and waxing it, I knocked down some of the drop targets. It was sitting in a track mode. And when I did, it just turned off. Like basically the display went dead and the game locked up. So I thought, that's kind of weird. So when the drop targets dropped, it hit switches on the bottom of the drop targets. So I turned the game off, back on, same thing, it won't come up. So I put the drop targets back up so that they're no longer on the switches at the bottom of the drop targets. Everything's cool. I mean it still wouldn't boot up. Okay, so I start looking around on the board, and these are notorious for two things on these System 80Bs. Now we got all of this information, and where we've got pretty much all of our pinball repair information that we've ever got, we've got from pinrepair.com, which is Clay's website. Guy knows everything about every pinball machine. And two of the big problems with these machines, besides the battery corrosion and everything, are the Riot Chips. Now it's not a design flaw or anything. It's just if you have a problem, it's one of these chips. So these three chips control various parts of the machine. This one controls the switches. This one controls the displays. I think one of them does the displays, one of them does the coils, and one of them does the switches. Well, anyway, this one that does the switches goes bad a lot in these. So a lot of times you'll get one, and that chip will be bad. So while the game was still on, I started filling it, and these two were a little hot. These run hot anyway, but this one was scalding hot. I mean, boiling water. The thing, I'm surprised it didn't turn red and fall out of the board hot. Really, really hot, which is a sign typically that something shorted inside of the chip. You can kind of sometimes find bad chips just by feeling the heat on them. These will all be fine, and then you'll have one that's really hot. Now these are RAM chips, so RAM runs hot anyway, but I've got three of them here, and the one for the switches was red fire hot. So I thought, oh, that's got to be it. Now, if one of these chips goes bad, the board won't boot. So I was like, the drop targets dropped. Whenever it hit the switches, it must have screwed it up. Whatever, right? So since this one was hot, I thought, man, it's pretty safe that's going to be the problem. And we've mentioned before in the other videos too that I haven't done the ground mods to these yet, but I don't think the ground mod not being done would cause the Riot chip to fail. I could be wrong about that, but that's just my opinion. And it happened right when the drop targets fell. I was almost positive that chip must have fried, you know. And once the switch hit, it did something in it that it didn't like and shorted something else out, and now the game won't even boot. So I took another one off of I've got another board here. I've got tons of these boards. So I happen to have this one that already had two of them socketed. Well, the same one we're messing with and the other one. Right, so I pulled one out, put it in there, still wouldn't boot, but it's not getting as hot anymore. Right, so this is an early System 80, so it's either a System 80 or a System 80A. Probably an 80A because it's got two ROMs, but I don't know that for sure. But this is how they originally did it. They put two ROM chips right there that are the game program. Well, by the time they got the System 80B, the games were more complex. They had more going on. They needed bigger memory for it. So what they did was they started using a bigger chip, and they used this little daughter board that plugs in or solders in, unfortunately, into one of those sockets. So if you look on the back, you can see the one. You can see my solder where I replaced the other Riot chip. They call it a RIOT, which means RAM in out something. But this is the little daughter board that the EEPROM is on. I'm looking at it there saying, why has somebody already resoldered it? Maybe I did the first time around. But this little board has a problem. These pins right here are soldered on the bottom of the board, which you cannot get to. So what you have to do is you have to take this whole board off of the board by desoldering it on the back. And then once you do that, you can resolder the pins on the bottom of the daughter board. So since that sits, you know, off the board a little bit, it gets this issue where you get cracked solder joints so that it's not talking right, you know. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I'm going to resolder those and put it back in, because if you don't, you're probably just, it's a ticking time bomb, right? So I'm going to do that. If it still won't boot, I'm going to swap this chip again, because this is a used chip, so I don't know for sure that this one's good either. I've got another one here in a socket that I could also try. And then I've got about 6 other boards that I've got them on. I don't have any new ones, and one of the big problems with this is the one that was in it that was so hot. One of the big problems with ordering stuff like this is you'll get there's stuff on eBay and everything, but you don't know if they're real. A lot of the chips that are on eBay, they've just took a chip that's the same size that nobody wants, that's useless, and they'll sand down the top of it and then reprint whatever the hell they want on it. So you can buy this chip on eBay, but it might not be this chip. It just says it's this chip. And it's hard to find people, it's hard to find sellers that you can trust that they've got the right stuff, you know. So there's a couple places it looks like online that I might be able to get them. Or another thing you can do is you can just take the chance. Just buy some from... most of them are coming from China. Just buy some from China, and then whenever they get here, see if they're the right thing. If they are, good. If they're not, it might fry something. But so that's why I'm trying to take them off parts boards. And plus, you know, you don't pay anything for them if you've already got them. And that one was in a socket, so easy enough. But it may be bad too. That may be why this board is no longer in a game. Maybe this board fried because of that Riot chip, and nobody tested it to put it in the socket. Now you can test those chips. I didn't test it because it was so red hot. I thought, man, that's got to be it. There's no way that was normal. That could have been one of these chips that drives it, though. Maybe. So what's going on now is whenever you turn it on, if you check the address and data lines, it'll come up for just a second and then go off, and the display never comes on. So it's, according to Clay, and I think he's right, typically that means that it's trying to run the code in the EEPROMs, but it can't find the code, or, you know, it's just shutting down. So I'm going to take this board off first. Even if this isn't the problem, it'll be preventative maintenance, and I'll show you what the underside of this looks like, and then we can put it back in and know that that's not the problem. Then we'll try it again, and if that doesn't do it, we'll swap this chip again. Okay, here's the bottom of the board. I got it out, and it don't seem to have torn anything up yet. But so I went ahead and resoldered the bottom there, and so it sits in there like this. They make a replacement board that has everything on the top or whatever, or that fits in a socket or something like that. But I don't have one of those, so this is going to have to go right back in. But like I said, it's like preventative maintenance, so now I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, we'll throw it back in, and then we'll try it and see what happens. Okay, so I've been working on this board. So we resoldered this. That did not fix it. At first I replaced this chip because it was very hot. That did not fix it. Then I resoldered the piggyback board. Did not fix it. Pardon the grease on my hands. I've been working on my truck. Okay, and so I had to start checking things. So the CPU chip seems to be fine. What's happening is it comes on and all the address and data lines are doing their thing. The clock is fine, everything. And then it turns off. And the reason that it turns off is because the IRQ line goes low. So what makes the IRQ line go low, and I'm getting all this information from Clay at pinrepair.com, is one of these chips usually will sync the IRQ line low, and that makes everything stop. Okay, so this is the switch one, and like I said, it was getting really hot burning hot. So we know there was some kind of problem there. After I've swapped it, it no longer is getting hot. It still gets a little hot, but nothing like it was. And these run a little hot too, but that's just how they run because they're RAM chips. So this handles all of the switches, and the switches are handled by these two chips. So as you can see, I've replaced them. The reason I've replaced them is because they tested bad. So I figured I'd show you a way that you can test. Now that may or may not fix the board, I don't know, but I think what happened was this chip went bad and fried both of these chips. I think. That's my theory, at least. But I was going to show you how you can check those. These are 7400 chips, and this is one of the ones that was in there. So here's my multimeter. So a way that you can test a 74 series TTL chip is you can put your red lead on the ground pin, which is like this. Here, I'll just do it on one of these new ones. This bottom corner here, and then whenever you check the other legs, you'll get between 0.4 and 0.6. You know, so that's just your standard diode check. Whenever you check a diode, it does that. So what it's doing is I don't know all the technical terms, but it's sending a little bit of juice through this, and this one's picking it up, and it's not sending the entire amount through. So there's a voltage drop there or something like that. But anyway, the magic number is 0.4 to 0.6. Usually if you're close to that, you're fine. But I'll show you how this one was. So this is the chip that I took out. I don't know if you can see it good. Basically, I'm getting 0.752 on a lot of them. Look, that one I'm getting 1.3, and then it went back down. Now it's, you know, we got some crap going on here. This one is not testing right. The one that was, this one was at Z14. This is Z13. The one that was at Z13 was even worse. It was like 1.0, 1.1, and it's completely not what it should be. So this one was definitely fried. I think this one was fried too. This one I changed earlier just thinking that it had something to do with the IRQ line. So this one was probably fine. So basically I've replaced these two 7400 chips. I had to put 74LS 00 in it just because I didn't have 7400, which may not work right, but I need to order some of the ones that are not the LS series. Here's the other board that I've been taking parts off because they're socketed, and you can see it's got the DM 7400s. Oh, I'll show you on this one. So this is a board, unknown condition. You can see the same situation. Whenever you test the other legs, you're getting between 0.4 and 0.6. Now notice it's over 0.6, but it's less than 0.7. You know, and sometimes you'll get something screwy, like if you check between the ground leg and this is where the power comes in, and the power leg, you get 0.209. But you know, you just want to basically, if you see anything way out of line, like that would be way out of line if it was on one of the regular chips, one of the regular legs. But since it's between the 5 and the ground, that's a little different scenario. And you can actually kind of do it on these 6532 chips too. Since we had 3 of them, you can kind of compare them to each other. So you can see you're getting your point. It works on a lot of chips, but it's not completely reliable. You'll notice whenever I get up here towards the top, it all changes. So now I'm getting 0.9, 0.9, 0.9. But comparing to the other 2 chips, it was giving me the same kind of reading. So, you know, I had 3 and they were all giving me the same readings on the same pins. Another thing is when they're mounted in the board, it doesn't always give you a normal, you know, the correct reading. But when this one was mounted in the board, it's giving me like, you know, 0.75, 0.76, and it should be lower than that because the chip out of the board gives you 0.5 or 0.6. So anyway, that's my working theory on what's going on with the board. So we'll try putting it back in, see if that changed anything or if it got us going, and if not, we'll keep working through it. I think I might have found out the problem. So remember, I was I was waxing the Playfield whenever it did it. I actually saw it go bad, the board go down. I screwed up, and so basically I pulled the flipper shafts out and just left the plunger in the game. Well, on this particular game, there's a third flipper up here, and they have a lane change feature. So when you hit the switch, the flipper switch, you connect two switches together on this side, only one on that side. And the way this particular game is you're hitting two flippers at the same time. Okay, so on this one, you have your end of stroke switch and your lane change switch. So that's a switch for the switch matrix. It has the switch matrix voltage running through it. The other one has the flipper solenoid voltage running through it. And basically, when you take the shaft of the flipper out, this pawl is just sitting in there, and there's a spring on it. So I think if you look, see how basically the pawl is making both of the damn switches touch each other? So you're sending your solenoid voltage into your switch voltage. So yeah, we got problems on the switch matrix. So I'm going to look specifically on that lane change switch, see how it goes into the board, and try to track that down and see what that would have fried. So we got in our stuff from the Pinball resource. So we've got 2 decal sets. Some of the stuff is new old stock. Maybe all of it is, I don't know. Flipper shoes. Flipper rings that we ran out of. We ran out of some of these here. And then this little clip. That was the piece that was rusted on our flat rail. So I'm going to put all this in there. Okay, so we got it back up and running. Basically, I've replaced several chips on the MPU that were unnecessary. Basically, what happened was I was correct that bat being out made the two switches short together, and the reason I know I'm correct is because the diode that connects to that was fried under the board. That was real easy to replace. And then what that did was it shorted out this chip, which also shorted out the U4 matrix. Now whenever I replaced those and it still wouldn't boot, the reason was because I screwed up one of the pins, pin number 30, which connects to this one and this one and this one. So basically everything was working up until here, but then it couldn't recognize these. So I started, I was testing it with, my logic probe and everything, and so I replaced some of the things in the clock signal, and all of this crap is all waste of time. The pin was connected to the CPU and everything like it should be, but it wasn't connected to the next one. So it basically had disconnected these 3, which is why the MPU still wasn't booting. So once I got that all figured out, we're back up and running. So now we got 2 up and running, doing their thing. What do you think? So this video is getting pretty long, but what I'll do is I'll clean them up the rest of the way, put the back glasses back in. I need to try to make that display a little brighter. The way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna leave it on all day. Usually that'll charge it back up. But I'll film another video of playing both of them, and we'll see if they're fun. But just to tease you, just to tide you over, I'll start this one so you can hear the wonderful music that you have to look forward to on the third video. Are you ready for this? Now this is Gottlieb's late 80s synthesizer Cheese. It's loud too. I told you it was loud. Folks, so that'll have to tide you over. All right, so there you go. Leave your comments below. Give us a thumbs up for filming it, and we'll see you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed it.